Hello you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be an updated bookshelf tour. I did one about a year ago and I really had fun filming that video, so I decided to film another one with like an updated bookshelf tour because I have changed the way my bookshelf looks. I used to organize it by genre, and at the moment it's organized by color, so trying to show you a little bit. Yeah, can't fully show you right now because my phone is on a tripod, but anyways, okay, this is good. I'm just gonna go through some of the books and yeah, that's gonna be it. So up here we have mainly white books, and it's slowly going over into red, orange, yellow, then pink, purple, and then down here below that we have more purple going into blue, blue going over into green, and then green transitions into black. And then I still have my book cart, which mainly has unread books in it, but there are still also a lot of unread books on this bookshelf because I have a book buying problem. Yeah, anyways, we're just gonna get right into it. I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna do this yet because again, my phone is on tripod right now, which should theoretically make things easier, but I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna do this yet. Okay, I hope you can see everything. I think you can. So up here again we have the white books. First of all, we have two mugs on here. I'm just gonna check if you can even see this. Yes, you can. This is a Brooklyn Nine-Nine themed mug, as well as this one. I bought this one myself, this Brooklyn Nine-Nine mug. And then the other one I got from my best friend for my birthday one year. So up here we first of all have the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J Maas, which I have fully read. I did kind of like a mixed read situation. I was partly listening to the audiobooks and partly reading the physical books because, as you can see, it's a very long series and I didn't have the energy to like read it fully with the physical copies. But as you may know, Sarah J Maas is a problematic author, so I don't want to recommend these books. I did personally like them, but I do also see the issues with them and with the author, so if you want to read these books, you might want to buy them secondhand so you don't directly support Sarah J Maas. Next to that, we have One of Us is Lying and One of Us is Next by Karen M. McManus. And I have read both of these. I read One of Us is Lying a few years back, and One of Us is Next I think I read 2 years ago. I know that a lot of people don't like One of Us is Lying because of the ending, but I personally really enjoyed the book and also the second one. The second one to me wasn't as good as the first one, but it was really fun and I liked them. Yeah, I was just enjoying the reads. Were those the best books I ever read? No, but they were entertaining and they were thrilling, so I feel like that's all that's really important to me. Next up we have Secret Game and Matching Night by Stefanie Hasse, a German author. I haven't read these, but I did read Pretty Dead by her, and it was a good book. It wasn't my favorite because the beginning was kind of slow for me, but I did have fun reading it towards the end, so that was okay. And then we have, dare I say, a classic, and that is Hey You Give by Angie Thomas. I loved to read as a kid, and I got back into reading in 2019, I think, when I was 14 back then. And The Hate You Give was one of the first books I read while getting back into reading. And it overall also just has a really important message, and it's a really, really good book. Okay, let me put you over here a bit. Next up we have this book by John Burnside that I found at a used bookstore, but haven't read yet. Then we have Begin Again by Mona Kasten, also a German author, and Begin Again is the first book in a 5-book long series, the Again series. And I think for me personally, Begin Again is my second favorite book in this series. But we're gonna get to my favorite book from the series a little bit later. Then we have Boyqueen by George Lester. In German it's called In all seinen Farben. In all seinen Farben. And this is basically about a boy who finds his love for drag, and it was really, really good. I loved it. I do have a trigger warning. There are some really hard scenes in this, like regarding homophobic comments. So if that's hard for you to read, then I probably wouldn't recommend this, but otherwise it was a beautiful book. Then we have Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. Haven't read that yet. This is Fabian, die Geschichte eines Moralisten, which I had to read for German class. And it was, well, actually, after analyzing it, I actually liked it much more, but it's still kind of connected to school trauma, so I don't like that much. And then we have Scythe by Neil Shusterman, but I haven't read that yet. Okay, let's move on to the second row. Okay, I'm trying to bring you down here on my level right now, but it's kind of hard. Okay, so let's get a little closer, like this. Yeah, okay. So over here we have a little stack of books. This is a book that I got at the bookstore as, I don't quite know what it's called in English. It's a magnet exemplar, because there's like some mistakes in it, like grammar-wise or something. So it was only €2, which is like really good, but I haven't read it yet. Here we have City of Ashes, one of the books in the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare, and I haven't read this yet. I bought it at a flea market, but I did read the first book, City of Bones, years ago. I just haven't gotten around to the others. Next, these books I have all read. We have Dry by Neil and Jared Shusterman, and that was actually such a good book. Both my aunt and my mom actually read this book too. I gave it to them for a bit and they read it, and when they gave it back to me, they both said that they absolutely loved it and that it was really good. And I loved it too. It was super interesting and it was just so good. Then we have After the Fire by Will Hill, which is basically about this girl living with a cult. and it's split into before and after the fire. And this was kind of traumatizing, to be honest. I wish it would have some content warnings, but other than that, it was really good. It was just a tough read, like not a fun read, but a tough read. That was really good though. Then we have more Angie Thomas books. We have On the Come Up, which was the second book of hers that I have read, and it was really, really good. Actually, out of all the books I read, well, no, Concrete Rose is actually my favorite. I was just thinking about it. So I read Concrete Rose as well, which was so good because it didn't just tackle racism and was well written and had great character dynamics in it, like all Angie Thomas books do, but it also tackled the topic of toxic masculinity, which I don't really see often in books, at least not in the books I've read so far. So that was really, really interesting and really cool. So Concrete Rose is probably my favorite. And then after that we have On the Come Up, which was really good. And then The Hate U Give would probably be my third favorite. And then later I'm going to show you another book by Angie Thomas that I've read. And that's my least favorite, but it was still great. Like, all of her books are so, so great. But Concrete Rose is my number one. Then we have Ophelia Scale by Lena Kiefer, again a German author. And Ophelia Scale is this young adult sci-fi trilogy, basically. I think this one is the third book in the series, I'm not quite sure. And I read it years ago, but it was such a great series. It was, I can't even really explain it to you. I don't have the words to describe such a great book, but basically it's about this society where I think technology is forbidden, and there's like a king that forbid the technology, and then we have Ophelia Scale, who's kind of like part of the rebellion and gets into the castle, I guess, of the royal family of the king, to kill the king, and then a bunch of things happen. Next to that we have Die Räuber from Friedrich Schiller, which I also had to read for German class. I just have it on here because it makes me look smart. Okay, then we have Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, and I haven't read this one yet, but it sounds really cool. Then we have City of Lost Souls, also by Cassandra Clare, part of the Mortal Instruments series that I just talked about. I also haven't read that one. I think that one is like the 5th book in the series. I'm not quite sure. I only read the first one. This is After the Fire by James Baldwin. No, The Fire Next Time, sorry. After the Fire was from Will Hill. And this is a book with 2 essays by James Baldwin, who lived as a black man in the 1920s, I think. Yeah, he was born in Harlem in 1924, and these are basically just 2 essays, 1 essay and 1 letter, I think, to his nephew, about what it was like to live as a black man around that time. And it was really eye-opening in a way. I have been, over the years, I have done different things to learn about racism, and The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin was one of those things that I read to educate myself, and it was really good. It's also not a super long read, so if you don't read long books, that one's perfect. Next up we have Erebos, number 2 by Ursula Posnanski, who is a German author, and I read the first book, which is further down on the bookshelf. I read that one in 8th grade for school, and I found it really interesting. And then I think like almost 10 years later, she published the second book. So when I was in 8th grade, Erebos was already out for a while, and then I think like 2 years later or something, she published the second book, and it was really good. I really liked it. Both of those books were 4/4.5 stars for me, so they weren't my favorites, and there were some parts that were a little long for me, but overall they were really great. And this one has sprayed edges and is also signed by the author, which is really cool. I didn't meet her, but she signed some books, and I just bought this one at a bookstore. This is Miss Sarah Simpson, and I read this one for uni last semester, and let me tell you, it was tough. That was a class that was really, really hard on me, because we had so much homework, and I was kind of done that semester. Like, I was not in a good mood because of different things, and then that seminar was just so hard. But I survived it, and I passed, not with the best grade, but I don't really care. Like, you know, passing the exam is all I wanted. This is Don't Love Me by Lena Kiefer, so the same author that wrote Ophelia Scale, and I have not read this yet, and I hope you can't hear my stomach noises because I'm hungry. This is Legend by Mary Lou. Also haven't read this, but it's really, really pretty, and it's supposed to be a really good book, so. Next up we have Bring Down the Stars by Emma Scott, which I did read a few years back, and I really enjoyed it. This is High Hopes by Eva Reid, the first book in the Whitestone Hospital series, I think. Yeah. I haven't read this yet. Then there's actually like a candle and a little ceramic heart over there. This is Moving Mountains by Tammy Fisher. This is a 4th book in a series, in the Fletcher University series. And I did like it, but it was just so long and kind of boring at times that I DNF'd it. The first book was okay, the second and third I loved, and the 4th I did not finish. This is Four Houses of Oxford by Anna Savas. Here we have the score by Elle Kennedy, which I think is the 3rd book with Ellie and Dean. I don't quite remember. This is Feel Again, so the 3rd book in the 3rd book in the Again series by Mona Kasten. And this was probably my second least favorite. Then here we have the first Ophelia Scale book, which is really, really great. I love these books. I do need to reread them, but I'm barely reading at all at the moment, so rereads are not really the most important thing to me right now. Okay. I'm just gonna try and bring you down here. The tripod is really loud. Might have to cut this out. Okay. So here we have the purple, blue, and green books. We have some decorations over here. This little candle holder. This is a little turtle. that I bought I think I was in Greece on vacation with my parents and a former friend of mine, and I bought this there. Okay, so over here we have Hate Is All I Feel by Siobhan Davis. Haven't read that one. Then we have Light Up the Sky by Emma Scott, which I didn't like as much as Bring Down the Stars, but it was okay. And then we have the All In and Full Tilt books in the German versions. So the All In duology by Emma Scott, and these were so good. They were some of the first new adult romance books I ever read, and they were so good. I was sobbing throughout like 50 to 75% of each of these books. Like, I could not. It was a tough read, but a really good one. This is Hiding Hurricanes. I just talked about the Fletcher University series with Moving Mountains, which is the 4th book. Hiding Hurricanes is the 3rd book, and I really love this. Here we have Moonlight Touch. Also, I haven't read this one. Then we have Dream Again, also another book in the Again series, which is, I think it's the last, so the 5th book, but it's like my 3rd favorite. Then we have Unravel the Dusk by Elizabeth Lim. Is this Unravel the Dusk? I think it is. The 2nd book in the duology, but I haven't read neither of those books. This is Her Royal Highness, a young adult sapphic book, and it was really cute, but I read it last year, I believe, and I just feel like I'm a little too old for it. I feel like if you're 13, 14, you would enjoy it more than I did at like 18 or 19, but it was really cute. This is Sinking Ships, the 2nd book in the Fletcher University series. Really love this one. This is What If We Drown by Sarah Sprintz, and again, I sobbed throughout like half of this book, so very good. Here we have Hope Again, the 4th book in the Again series. Enjoyed this one. The beginning was, I don't know, I wasn't a fan from the beginning on, but I ended up loving it. Then we have The Mistake, can you even see it here? And The Goal by Al Kennedy in these ugly ass German covers. Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and then I'll just put you over here. We have a candle and a little cart and another candle. Here we have City of Bones, which I read years ago. This is the 2nd book, I believe, in the Ophelia Scale trilogy. Here we have Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. Haven't read this one. This is Der dunkle Schwarm by Marie Grashoff, another German author, and it translates to The Dark Swarm. I haven't read this, but I read another series by her, which we'll get to later. And this is Loop by Ben Oliver, which I also have not read. Okay. Let's put you a little further down again. Like this maybe? Yeah, that's good. Okay. So right over here in that corner we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, which I did start on a random day in summer. Or was it last summer? I don't know. But I wasn't really in the mood for a book like that at the time, so I didn't continue reading, but I will do that at some point. Then we have Babel. I don't really know how to pronounce this one, but it's by R.F. Kuang, and it's supposed to be really good. It's also a book that you could potentially kill someone with if you would throw this at their head. It's very thick, but I'm excited for it. Then we have Time Shifters. Haven't read. This is Trust Again by Mona Kasten, so the second book in the Again series. And that is my favorite book of the whole series. So Trust Again is my favorite one, then Begin Again is my second favorite one. Dream Again is my third favorite, and then I'm thinking, what was the other one? Feel Again is like my fourth favorite, and Hope Again is my least favorite, but it was not a bad book, okay? It was really good. I loved all of them. I just love some of them a little less. Then we have Erebos. I already talked about this. The first book in the series, in the Erebos duology, and it was good. I read it in school, and it was by far the best book that I've read in school. Next to that, we have the Neon Birds trilogy by Marie Grashoff. And that one is like a cyberpunk science fiction trilogy about this world where artificial intelligence is kind of taking it over, and there's this sickness that turns humans into cyborgs. And I can't really tell you more without spoiling it, but I can just tell you that these are some of the best books I have ever read, even though there's little to no romance in there. And if you have watched any of my videos before where I talk about my favorite books, they usually always have romance in them. So this is very unusual for me, but these books were just so good. And they also sound really good. And they have these like interesting files and everything in there, and some artwork, which is like just absolutely amazing. And then the second one has a little character overview at the beginning, which is just so beautiful, and I love it. So I definitely recommend these books. Then next to that we have Legendborn, and I have not read that one yet, but I'm really excited. Then next to that we have Die Arena, so The Arena by Haley Barker. Then next to that we have a book of the Witcher book series. I watched the show 3 times so far, and I really enjoyed it, which is why I got the first book, but I have not read it yet. Who would have thought? Then this is a book that I recently got, so I also have not read this, but it is The Light That Blinds Us by Andy Darcy Theo. And I follow them on TikTok. I don't quite know which pronouns they use, so I'm just gonna use they, them. Yeah, so I follow them on TikTok, and I watched a lot of their videos. And then I just got interested in their book, and I bought it recently. And then here we have Blackout, which is by 6 different authors. Let me just grab this. It is by Danielle Clayton, Tiffany D. Jackson, Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, Ashley Woodfolk, and Nicola Yoon. So 6 authors of color. And Blackout is basically a collection of 6 different short stories that happen during a blackout. And some of these stories are also queer. So it's a collection of young Black people experiencing love, and again, some of them are also queer love stories, which I thought was really cute. I usually don't read short stories, so this wasn't my favorite book ever, but it was really cute, and yeah, I do really enjoy it. And then next to that we have Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. And that is it for this one. Let me just get you down here. This is the last, the last important part of my shelf. In that little, well, I think it's actually supposed to be a plant pot, but I use it for all of my, Lesezeichen? I don't even know right now. I'm sorry. My bookmarks. Oh, yeah, bookmarks. Then here we have 2 different candles, and this is a little display thingy that my parents got for me when I got my final qualifications at school, when I graduated. And then this book, Der kleine Pinguin. So basically the little penguin is a book that I loved as a kid, and my mom had to read it to me over and over again, and I just absolutely adored it. And yeah, she sold it at some point with a bunch of my other things I had as a child to make some money in some space, sorry. And then I talked about how I loved that book as a kid, and like I think 2 years ago my mom got this for me, and like they don't even print this book anymore. She had to find it on eBay and bought it for me, and then we read it again and I cried because it's such a cute book, and it just like, it's my childhood and I love it, and it's like illustrated. I have a short on here where I like did some page turning and tapping on this book, and it's so cute, and it's like textured, which makes it even nicer sounding. I'm just gonna get you out of the tripod. Okay, I have to get you out of the tripod for the last shelf in the big bookshelf, and these are essentially all books that I like decluttered from my bookshelf and that I'm currently selling secondhand online on Vinted. And then over there we just have some books that I need for uni, and this little pig with a crown and some like feathery stuff, and it's like a piggy bank, like literally in a pig. So this is my bookshelf. Thank you so much for watching this. I'm gonna post a part 2 with the book card at some point soon, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it relaxing. And yeah, if you read any of these books, please let me know your opinion without spoilers if possible of all of these books, or some of them, not all of them. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you again soon, hopefully.